Hi everyone, I just wanted to make a quick video to show you how to submit your timeline assignments. I know a few of you got error messages, but it looks like SafeAssign is working correctly today. Excuse my sniffles. Also, pardon the background noise. I'm at UNM today. I'm going to be reading some microfilm, doing some research later for another project I'm working on. Anyway, I've been looking over the timeline assignments. It seems like everyone is doing pretty well with them, able to access Tiki-Taki. There were a couple exceptions to that. If for some reason you were not able to log in to the course timeline, please contact me to let me know what happened, what the error message was. Also, if you experienced any problems while you were posting on the course timeline, such as you got kicked out, the image didn't work, which that sometimes is the case, so you'll just have to try a different image and double check that, as I mentioned before. But anyway, if you have any problems, let me know, because I'm trying to troubleshoot this assignment to a degree this intersession. So you guys are helping me to shape this assignment and helping me figure out where things are working well and where they're not working so well. So let me show you first, like I mentioned, how to submit your document, your file part of the timeline assignment. And then after that, I want to talk just a little bit about historical significance. So please do listen to that part of the video as well. So here you see we're in our course Blackboard shell on the internet. I'm in Chrome browser. I'm going to go over here, course content. I'm going to click on timeline. If you go to, well, I'm not going to click on timeline. I'm going to show you another way to get there. So if you're in the learning module, for example, so we're in Unit 2, and you'll want to use the table of contents for this, coming back to it. So you'll go down to the Unit 2 timeline contribution link, click on that, and then this will send you to the place where you can create your timeline, or excuse me, where you can post your timeline contribution. If you need the instructions, again, there's a link to them there as well. This didn't open automatically, so you click this Unit 2 timeline contributions. It opens a new window. And I think where the problem was, because about half of you weren't able to submit this, I think the problem was that was the way I set this up. So I apologize for that. I set it up as a learning module because in TeacherView, it shows it as a list rather than as these various pages that you have to flip through, and I forgot about that part. But I wanted to give you the explanation for what you needed to be doing right before each submission link. So what you'll need to do here is, you may have already read this, you may have already seen the example. You go to the second step, so you can either do this button here to go to page 2, or you can use the table of contents. Go to timeline ID step, and then we're using SafeAssign, which is the plagiarism checker, so you'll click View Complete. And then I submitted a rubric yesterday just to see if this was working, and it was. So you'll see my rubric looks like it's 63% plagiarized. That may be because it's already in Blackboard's system, and it's not this assignment. So after you've submitted your assignment, you'll be able to see the report. See what it says you may have plagiarized or not. Also, I want you to realize that even if this thing says you plagiarized, sometimes it counts direct quotes as plagiarism. Of course, when I read that, I realize that quotes are not plagiarism, that you actually put it in quotation marks, you cited something. That's okay, that's not anything to worry about. What this does help with is, if you think that you've rephrased something well enough to make it your own, but this kind of says you haven't, that'll give you pause to think about that and how to do better in the future. So anyway, if I hadn't already submitted something here, there would just be a link to browse for a file, submit the file, and that would be that. So I hope this helps. This is where you go to do that. Let me go back to that timeline step. So here's the table of contents learning module that you can also find in the timeline link. Let me show you what it looks like going at it from that direction. So you have to scroll down a little bit if you come at it this way. So you go down past the instructions and the video tutorial, and you go to the unit that you're working on. I'll open Unit 3 this time just to show you something different. And this is where you submit both parts of the timeline. So you do the timeline ID step, and then the connection step is here as well. So you just have to go through those different pages and find the link where you click view/complete, and then this is what it looks like if you haven't yet submitted something. You just choose the file from your computer, and then click submit. So I hope that helps. If that wasn't your problem, if finding it wasn't the problem, you received an error message or something like that, contact me and we'll try to work through that and figure out what the problem was there. At the end of this video, or actually in the announcement with this video, I'm going to provide a link to a blog post that talks about the idea of historical significance. And this is something that I don't think I explained well enough in the timeline instructions, but something that I want us to really think about and really work on with this timeline assignment. So you need to go through and explain the story of the person, the event, the place, whatever it is that you've chosen for the timeline entry, based on the URL that you found, the photo that you found, and so on, or video. That's part of the assignment, to tell the story. But you also need to explain in very specific terms why that person, place, thing is significant to New Mexico's past. You can't just say Diego de Vargas was important because he led the Reconquest, for example. But you also need to take that a step further and say the Reconquest was important because it reshaped life in along the Rio Grande corridor and solidified the presence of the Spanish colonial system in New Mexico. So while the first thing I said, the Reconquest, that is significant. That is part of his significance historically. You need to explain that just a little bit further, just to make sure that you've gone into some detail. Someone who's reading this who doesn't know what the Reconquest is will be able to say, oh, okay, I can kind of get a sense of what that's all about. In the blog post that I'm sharing here, the author does a really good job of talking about the difference between things that we find interesting and things that are significant. And there's a difference. I find lots of things about the past to be very interesting, and it's hard for me not to want to write about them in assignments or in articles or whatever it is I'm doing. However, if I'm trying to make a larger point about the significance of something, I don't want to spend too much time focusing on those things that I just think are interesting. Instead, I want to focus on what are the things that are really important? What are the things that this person did that shaped the past? One last thought is that historical significance, like everything else with history, very much depends on perspective. So if we're thinking about, for example, the family history of Diego de Vargas, we want to talk about his family life. We could say something about the fact that he left his wife in Spain, that he created a new family in central Mexico and Mesoamerica, that because of all of his efforts to reclaim the family name, his relationships with his actual family members were somewhat strained. If that's the angle that we're looking at him through, then the thing that we're going to talk about for significance is going to be different than saying he led the Reconquest. Instead, we're going to say something about why his relationship with his family was so strained and why that was important for his overall life and times. I hope that helps a little bit. Again, if you have questions, please ask. I want us just to really try to think about perspective and think about the significance of what we're looking at in New Mexico history over this short 2-week class. So, again, let me know if you have questions, and let's keep going. I think we're all doing a very good job.